Hi viewers, and welcome to March 2014 Earth Predictions reading. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time and energy and interest in following the series that we have going here. I just want to go briefly over the card that arrived last month for February, the puzzle card, which I said had never ever turned up before. I think I've managed to acquire a few meanings for the card. If we look particularly, the ground seems implicated and there's movement along the ground. And interestingly enough, for the very first time in almost record history books, we had issues with the England floods and the heavy rain and the Thames all flooding and storm surges there. So I get a good feeling. I also mentioned that royalty would be considered, and I always think of England as having royalty. And as well, we had the polar vortex systems that were coming up through, or rather down from the Arctic Circle and down into US and Canada, and that was like freezing ice covering the grounds and blocking people in and locking them behind doors. So I think the puzzle card really resonated with particularly watery cold issues and flooding, ground changes in the ground and altering houses and the way people live in them, things like that. Anyhow, back to March's reading. The very first card that we have here is the Destruction card. Now, it was in February's reading as well, so interestingly we've still got a flow through of energies going along there with this particular card. I often suggest it has to do with buildings and towers, or bridges, war, destructive energy, fireballs, lightning, flames, burning, fear, anger, things falling from the sky such as meteorites, asteroids, anything as well to do with space exploration such as missiles or rockets, space launching of things. So it's a really busy card, the Destruction card, with a lot of energy. And given that it's the first card for the month of March, it feels like we could be going into March with quite a bit of awkward energy and quite feisty, fiery energy, you know, like Mars warrior type energy. The second card that arrived is the Liberation card. I can't help myself with this card, but I always associate Australia in one way or another, because you get that feeling of fleeing, and we see the snake here. So I don't know what it is with Australia, but I get energies of Australia. I also see really fast water flowing and people leaving situations in a hurry, like the door is literally not even shut and they're running out. So I don't know, sometimes with Australia in the summery type months, even though we are now officially into autumn down here in the southern hemisphere, we could still be getting bushfire issues there, or there could be some sort of storm or flooding related issues, or just something that brings Australia into the world domain of watching what's going on there for some reason. We also think of doors being closed, locked behind, stuck in situations. The next card that arrived for the reading is the Beauty card. We've seen her out many times, actually, seems to come out quite often. And again, I often associate this up with areas around the England, or through the older European areas, and often with celebrities or famous people or political parties or members of political parties, or even the partners of people who are married to someone that's high up, being in the news for some reason that they wouldn't normally be in the news for. The next card that came through is the Message card. Another one I don't really particularly like. I can't help but think of Tsunami when I see that, because I think of our seas being really roughed up and all the turmoil and the junk that gets carried along through the seas. So I'm not entirely convinced that that's exactly what it is, but it often does indicate sea issues, whether we're getting strong storm surges again for March, where the sea is altered in some way or another, or storms that relate to forming their energy from the sea. So big storm cells that gather all their force and energy and power from the sea and then move on to land somehow. As well, perhaps sea movement, seabed movement, we could look maybe volcanic activity under the sea, earthquake plate alignment that is correlated around the seabeds. Also animals and issues to do with sea animals and something about them being affected or being brought into the news in one way or another. The next one was the stranger. Been out again a few times, and I've often said before I tend to associate it with kind of dark hidden energies, hidden agendas, things that are being kept from us behind locked doors, as well as often communist energies, so communist countries. We've had a lot of interest or activity in the Ukraine lately, and certainly that's been a bizarre discovery they've made from the Ukrainian president and all his personal wealth that he's defrauded the country of. So I think there'll be more along those lines. And it's a wintry kind of feel. I often think of it being cold up through that European sector and the communist sector. And the last card that arrived ties in very well with that, the beast. We tend to associate again with, you know, a beastly type character or energies that of someone who is egocentric and egomaniac and domineering and taking control. So again we have that feel of communist parties and countries and rulers. This card, the beast, also shows fires, volcanic, underground tunnels, hidden energy, animals. So March is showing itself to be quite a busy month again, quite a tumultuous month by the look of it. Lots of fiery, feisty, boom type energy. It's going to be fast and active, I think. And it might not just be all weather related, it could be human related energies that are coming in around as well. Anyhow guys, I do thank you for watching these Earth prediction series, and take a look at my 2014 prediction if you like. That's sort of popping along really nicely. I mentioned there would be issues to do with sound in 2014, and at the beginning of this year there's been a huge increase again in the number of strange booms being heard around the world, so I'm finding that really interesting to follow as well. Take care all, kia kaha, much aroha, be safe, be happy, love one another, that's really important, and thanks for watching.